But regardless of what happens in November, will Ukraine be able to, will Ukraine be able to stave off a possible Russian offensive in the summer, given the deadlock in the US Congress in terms of supply of weapons?
They'll get what they need.
Sorry?
They'll get what they need.
They'll get. So you think it'll go through eventually?
It will go through. The Ukrainians will get what they need. I'm convinced that they will get the tools that they need. But I'll be honest. The fact that we've provided these weapon systems to them for now 2 years plus, we collectively, the Europeans, others as well, the Koreans, many nations, not just the United States, we haven't let them win. You have to win. In the end, you have to convince your adversary that the cost of continuing conflict exceeds the benefit. This is deterrence 101. This is economic 101. This is what you teach your children. When they behave badly, you have to convince them that their bad behavior, which they enjoyed and benefited from, their bad behavior is exceeded by the cost of that bad behavior. And that's what we lost. And we have to allow the Ukrainians to do that, and we didn't. I'm afraid we're not doing it in Israel either. Today, the President of the United States and many countries, the United Nations, I think India voted that way as well, is trying to constrain the one actor that has a chance of actually creating peace in the region. Right? The leaders of Hamas to this day, tomorrow there will be a ceasefire, everything shuts down. What's Hamas going to do tomorrow? What would Iran do tomorrow? They'll go right back at it. This is no nation. India wouldn't allow this. India would not sit still for having their women raped and murdered at the level that happened that day. You'd go take care of whoever did it too. And by the way, the United States should support you in doing that. And if you had Indians held hostage, we should support your effort to go back and get those hostages. Today there are not only Israeli hostages, but American hostages being held by Iran. And rather than pay them billions of dollars, we ought to go win. And this is the challenge. We didn't tell Israel, by the way, that they couldn't go into Gaza. Think about this. Think about the difference here. Israel is invaded by marauders, has hundreds of their people taken and held hostage, human shields being used to protect them. And we didn't tell Israel, no, you can't go get them. We told the Ukrainians, you can't do that. We told the Ukrainians, you can't go hold anything Russian at risk. If you're sitting in Russian leadership, not just Putin, but Russian leadership more broadly, and your mothers put their children to bed peacefully every night in Moscow and St. Petersburg, versus the Ukrainian mother who puts her child to bed and prays that the missile won't come through the building that night, this is asymmetric, and this is the thing that will continue to drag this European conflict out. We have to hold something that matters to Russia at risk, or at least convince them that we will.
I just wanted to stay with Ukraine for a moment. So you don't subscribe to, sort of an intellectual theory of the present day right in America, or parts of the present day right, is that Ukraine is a distraction, and actually the US should focus more on Taiwan and so on. You don't subscribe to that. And one strand of the theory is that the whole expansion of NATO eastwards was some kind of a provocation to Russia. I mean, the same set of people usually say about these things. What are your views?
No, this is Russian propaganda. NATO no more threatened St. Petersburg than a man in the moon. I mean, come on. Like, can we just all, you don't have to tell your kids, but can we just all agree here today? Does anybody think Vladimir Putin really feared that NATO was going to roll into Russia? Maybe. I don't think there's any evidence to support that. By the way, the United States made a promise to Ukraine in 1994 in the Budapest Memorandum. We said, give up your nuclear weapons, Soviet-era weapons, and in exchange for that, if you come under threat, we will support you in your defense. The world knows that America made that promise. If we walk away from that, good luck getting Chairman Kim in North Korea to give up his nuclear weapons. Good luck getting any nation to give up anything that matters to them based on an American guarantee. So I would argue there is a deep, important commitment there. Second, to your point, this is a European conflict. I was a soldier now decades ago. My first assignment as a young lieutenant was patrolling the then East German border. It was a great job. Drive up and down M1 tank, put the tank away, go drink beer. Great job. European kids were sitting at the bar when I got there. Europe has to do the work, just as India needs to do the work in this region. Japan, South Korea, Australia, the list goes on. Regional nations need to do the job in the first instance to secure their own sovereignty and their own freedom. That's true in Europe. But America has a deep interest in Europeans' continued integrity and success as well. Yes, the bigger challenge is from the Chinese Communist Party. The long-term threat, the chance that my son, and if we are blessed, our grandchildren, will live in an America that is very different than the one we live in today, comes largely from Xi Jinping and his like in the Chinese Communist Party, not from Russia. That much is true. But it doesn't mean that we can allow a sovereign nation to be invaded by an aggressor. We will only encourage folks like Xi Jinping, whether that be in Taiwan or in Los Angeles. And I would remind you here too, it's as true in India as it is in the United States. The Chinese Communist Party isn't just a threat in the Taiwan Straits. They're inside the gates. The largest spying operation, I believe, ever conducted on America wasn't by the Russians. It was being conducted out of the Chinese consulate in Houston, Texas, with diplomats operating undercover. And we closed the consulate. We made the decision to close the consulate. Not an easy decision. You can imagine. Oh my gosh, what will the Chinese do? Will they invade Taiwan? Will World War III? What they understood was like, these guys, good on you. You figured it out and you crushed it. They remain a threat. They're all around us. They're working hard inside our countries. They want to change the nature of India as well. They want it to look more like them than you. And we can't let that happen inside our own countries either. It's complicated. I get it. Deep trade relationships for India. Deep trade relationships, economic interests for the United States of America as well. I know them very, very well. We have to find a model that delivers security and prosperity for ourselves, protects our own trading bloc, and the rules that have delivered India to the place that it is today. And if we do that well, I'm convinced China will end up having to follow suit.